Hi, this is Ron Poole with Poole's Pharmacy Care. Today I will be discussing the proper procedure for taking your blood pressure. We will address in depth how to take your blood pressure using a manual arm cuff monitor, and we'll also touch on how to use semi-automatic and automatic arm cuff monitors, as well as a wrist cuff monitor. It is important to know how to properly assess your blood pressure due to the health risk associated with chronically high blood pressure. Before getting into how to obtain your blood pressure, it is important to understand what the readings mean. There are two main parts to a blood pressure reading. First, there is your systolic reading, or upper number reading. This is your high number and explains the pressure at which your heart is contracting and pushing blood into your arteries. The second part is your diastolic reading, or the lower reading. This number explains the pressure in your arteries when the heart is at rest, refilling between beats. The chart on the screen now is what prescribers use to diagnose high blood pressure. If you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure, your goal blood pressure should be less than 130/80, unless instructed otherwise. You should check your blood pressure at least twice a day or more if instructed. Try to take your blood pressure at the same time every day, preferably taken once in the morning before eating or taking your medications, and a second time in the evening. If your blood pressure reading is significantly different from your usual blood pressure, you may want to repeat after waiting 5 minutes to confirm an accurate result. There are a few quick do's and don'ts that are important when taking your blood pressure, regardless of what method you are using. The do's: take a deep breath and relax. Use the correct cuff size that covers 80% of your arm. Remove bulky clothing from around the upper arm. Empty your bladder beforehand. Sit down with your feet flat on the ground and your back resting. Let your arm rest at heart level. The don'ts: don't drink caffeine or smoke 30 minutes before taking your blood pressure. Don't talk while getting a reading. Don't cross your legs. Don't wrap the cuff around bulky clothing. Don't stand or lie flat. As mentioned before, the main method that will be shown today is a manual reading. For this method, both a blood pressure cuff and a stethoscope are needed. The cuff is what we will be placed around the upper arm. Your cuff may have arrows that will line up the brachial artery. There will also be tubing leading to an inflation bulb and the manometer. The inflation bulb is what will be pumped to inflate the cuff. There should also be a valve on the bulb that will be tightened and loosened when getting the blood pressure reading. The sphygmomanometer is the gauge in which the blood pressure reading will be obtained from. The stethoscope is made of earpieces, tubing, and the head. The earpieces will be placed in the ears in order to listen to the pulse of the blood pressure. The head of the stethoscope is comprised of the diaphragm and the bell, and the diaphragm being the flat, rounded edge that will be firmly held against the arm. Now that you are familiar with the equipment, we will go ahead and show you the proper technique. Start by placing the cuff on your arm as shown. Next, ensure that the head of the stethoscope is placed over the brachial artery of the arm. Tighten the valve on the bulb and inflate the cuff to about 20 points above what your systolic blood pressure normally runs. You may need to inflate the cuff higher if you can hear a beat right away. Slowly loosen the valve and deflate the cuff and use the stethoscope to listen for the pulse. Record the reading on the cuff when you hear the sound of the first pulse, and also record the reading when you no longer hear a pulse through the stethoscope. You now have your systolic and diastolic blood pressures. When using a semi-automatic blood pressure monitor, make sure the cuff and the stethoscope head are in proper position. Also make sure the valve on the bulb is closed and begin pumping until 20 points above your usual systolic reading. Some monitors are equipped to beep when you need to pump the bulb more. Then just let go of the bulb and the machine will take care of the rest. When using a totally automatic blood pressure monitor, just make sure the cuff is in the proper position and follow the prompted instructions on the machine. Once inflated, the cuff will slowly deflate and record your blood pressure. When taking your blood pressure with a wrist cuff monitor, follow these steps. Put the wrist monitor onto your left wrist. Make sure your palm is up and relaxed. Do not make a fist or lie your palm down on the table. Lay the back of your wrist on a flat, elevated surface approximately heart level to keep your arm steady while taking the reading. You may also hold your arm across your chest at heart level, as shown in the picture. Keep a log of your blood pressure measurements that you take at home so that you can report these readings to your provider so they can make any needed adjustments on your blood pressure medications. If you have any questions about how to take your blood pressure, stop by any of our 5 locations and ask our pharmacist for assistance. This concludes our video on taking a proper blood pressure reading. I hope this is helpful in your efforts to monitor your blood pressure. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to call any of our Pools Pharmacy Care stores and ask for assistance or email us at info@poolspharmacycare.com.